They might see this person, they might interact with them, and they just fall into this like trap, right? And now they can't get out, and they're stuck in it, and they basically carve their own life in there. But that's not necessarily how it lasts, and it only lasts for, most data shows that most couples say that this feeling, well, not that one, but the feeling that we saw in the movie, lasts for up to 2 years. Up to, like the honeymoon phase, they call it. And then after that starts to be the time where you notice that, they put the empty juice carton back in the fridge, and, they leave their clothes away, her purse is everywhere, like he doesn't make the bed, whatever, right? That's when you start to notice these things after 2 years. And at that point, when the honeymoon sort of like overly sensational love feeling starts to wane, and all those things start to become more in focus, that's when you see a lot of couples that come to Sheikh, that come to myself, that come to other imams, counselors, their friends, and they'll say this magic phrase, I think we might be drifting apart. I don't know if I love him or her anymore. And when they say that, what they're saying is, I don't know if we're compatible anymore. But the reason why they've even gotten there in the first place was because they've put all of their chips into the love basket of their relationship. There was nothing else. There was no compatibility. There was no value system. There was no personality assessment. There was no future sort of evaluation assessment of how we're going to live together. It was just love. So as soon as the love starts to falter, the whole marriage is done. It's like throwing out the baby with the bathwater, right? Not necessarily the case. Being in love does not mean that you are ready to get married. Being in love is not necessarily an indication accurately that you are ready to get married. It is a necessary component of a relationship, of a marriage, but it's not a sign. A lot of people, they say, I don't think I want to get married. I don't know if there's anyone that I like. Or they say, I want to get married. I've liked this girl for a long time, or I've liked this guy for a long time. Those statements don't necessarily add up logically. Right? There's a lot more to it, inshallah. All of those things that we're going to talk about are the rest of the class. So we wanted to start with this one to kind of burst everyone's bubble. And then we have 9 more major sections that we'll talk about. Because the obvious question is, well, what are the other things? Like, if love isn't it, like, how do I then get there? That's why you're here, inshallah. And that's the rest of tonight and tomorrow and Sunday, inshallah. So with that, we're going to have Sheikh come and give us an incredible understanding about some ayat in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about a person and how that person gets to the stage where they are ready to get married. Where they are ready to get married. Not focusing on love, but focusing on a lot of other things. It might surprise you, inshallah.
All right, Bismillah. So to pick up from where we left off, so
Next one, yeah.
all right, very good. I'd like to share with y'all a passage from the Quran, a very fascinating, interesting, profound passage of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and one that is actually quite well known. It's discussed about a lot, it's talked about a lot, it's recited very frequently, whether it be just in recitation or within the prayer itself. Seminary students, it'll look familiar to you because we just read through the tafsir of it in Kashaf as well. And this is very famously known as the Ibadur Rahman passage. The passage about the Ibadur Rahman that translates as the most devout slaves, or the devout slaves of the most merciful. All right? The devout subjects of the most merciful. And what this is particularly about is at the end of Surah number 25, Surah Al-Furqan. At the end of Surah number 25, Surah Al-Furqan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the very end of the surah, He talks about paradise. And He talks about the reward in paradise. And He talks about these beautiful homes and abodes and gardens that people of paradise will occupy. And He talks about the gardens, and He talks about the enjoyment, and He talks about the pleasure, and the fact that they will be therein for all of eternity. But before that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the qualities of the people who will make it there. Who will make it. And before He lays out their qualities,